Vitamin B3, the natural form of vitamin D3, which is nicotinic acid, is one of the most ignored vitamins in what we see in supplements, because when they manufacture vitamins and mineral supplements, they usually put a different form of vitamin B3 in there because the natural form will give you a flush. And a lot of people would say when they take the vitamin, if it had natural form of vitamin B3 in there, it would say that vitamin gave me a reaction. That multivitamin gave me a reaction because it had the natural form of vitamin B3 in there, which is nicotinic acid. But it's a natural form of vitamin B3 that is the most beneficial by far. Now here I'm showing a picture of Dr. Abram Hoffer, who's a medical doctor and also a PhD. Way back, even in the 1940s, he was using nicotinic acid, which is in high doses, which is a natural form of vitamin B3 to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and it worked. He actually did a double-blind study in 1952, which was not published till 1957, where it worked on 90% of the schizophrenic patients. And the reason behind that is that there's a coenzyme called NAD, which is one of the precursors for that coenzyme is nicotinic acid. Now, NAD actually has other uses and in association with longevity. And I'm going to get into that real quickly here pretty soon. But there's absolutely, like a lot of times people dissuade you from taking vitamins and supplements. And in certain cases, like in the case, I'd say the three top vitamins, maybe four, say four top vitamins would be vitamin C, vitamin D, along with K2. You should take vitamin D along with vitamin K2. So vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin B3, which is the natural form, nicotinic acid. I would say those are the top four vitamins that you really can't get optimal doses of, through your diet. You can get adequate doses, obviously, but you don't get optimal doses. And a lot of times, you can live a lot longer. I'm going to go into something here, too, also about vitamin B3 or niacin, nicotinic acid. That now I've seen this, and I've seen these things over the years about, how with a special injection that they're going to make people live much longer. I've seen these claims way back when. I've seen them 10 years ago, and they never came to fruition. But I did take, key note of an article I saw in Business Insider several years ago about tech billionaires, the tech billionaires saying that they're going to live 1,000 years or thousands of years with special methods. And they showed they were using supplements and organic foods. But if that was the case, if you remember Jack LaLanne, who lived to be almost 100 years old and in great health for the entire time, he would still be alive today. He would live past. They're making claims of hundreds of years, not just 100 years. So, I'm going to get into something whereby, the NAD is one angle whereby I've seen where they're talking about they're going to use injections of the coenzyme NAD to extend life 10 or 20 years. That was a claim I saw, and it's supposed to be available in the 2020 sometimes. I think it'll never come out, but just to tell you that one of the main precursors or building blocks for NAD, the coenzyme, which also, if you're lacking that, will cause schizophrenia, but it's also a longevity coenzyme. One of the precursors is nicotinic acid, the natural form of vitamin B3. So there you have a couple different uses. Now the other side of B3 is it's a detoxifier, and a lot of times toxins, or it really knocks out the telomeres and on our DNA, toxins, and also causes the cells to divide more than they need to because cells are being destroyed by oxidative So the less your cells need to divide, the longer you will live, because there's only so many times the cells can divide. And actually, a lot of that has to do with the length of the telomeres. The telomeres, you see the green end caps on the end of the chromosomes, they shorten each time the cells divide. But by knocking out toxins, which is another thing that vitamin B3 does, it helps longevity indirectly because your cells stay healthier longer and they don't need to divide as much. And actually, this is why vitamin B3 can help indirectly with cancer. And I say indirectly, it doesn't fight cancer per se, but a lot of times, what causes cancer is oxidative stress from toxins in your body, and the vitamin B3 can help remove those vitamins. That's why vegetables can be indirectly, let's use the word indirectly anti-cancerous. They don't fight cancer directly, but what they do is they help remove the toxins that cause cancer. Now, you can find a lot of good vitamins and minerals also in some of the things that a lot of people don't eat, which is like the almonds and the nuts and things like that, which a lot of times is lacking in the American diet. But if you look at, see, this vitamin B3 actually has several main things it does. It works against psychiatric disorders. It works to detoxify the body. It works to raise the NAD, which is also the coenzyme that can help greatly with longevity. There was a claim out there recently that we're going to inject people with a coenzyme NAD and give them another 10, 20 years. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that the NAD is very important also to preventing Alzheimer's. And I'm going to get into something else too, that there's medical studies that were done on POWs, World War II POWs, that they lived in such a stressful, toxic environment for so long. These are World War II POWs that were captured by the Japanese in World War II, which had a very low survival rate. They wound up to having a dependency on nicotinic acid. And if they took higher doses of nicotinic acid, they were able to function fine during the day. I don't know why, if they, it wasn't something that if they took it a lot and it would alleviate the symptoms, and if they stopped taking it, the symptoms would come back. But that was due to a very high stress environment from being a POW in World War II. Now, I also wanted to take a look at this chart of schizophrenia. You notice it's a little bit different for men and women. And a lot of times women, I don't know, maybe it's the menopausal relationship or whatever it is, they have another spike whereby there's a higher percentage of women than men get schizophrenia at a later age. I don't know if that's due to the hormones or whatever, but there's other aspects even to vitamin B3 that women would be very much interested in, is because if you detox the body, it helps you to lose weight. A lot of times, well, this is not even a lot of, this is like a truth. This is an absolute fact that your body uses fat to trap toxins, because toxins are, toxic to the vital organs of the body. So what it does is, as a defense mechanism, it uses fats to trap toxins. So you will get fat just from being exposed to toxins, not all related to calories. As a matter of fact, that's why some pharmaceutical meds will cause people to gain weight, or even psychotropic drugs can cause people to gain weight, because there's toxins in them. They're not natural things that agree with the body. So I mean, there's pluses and minuses. Sometimes you need them. Sometimes maybe the person needs to have these pharmaceutical things anyway. But there's a downside to everything. It's not everything's 100% safe. But when I'm talking about toxins, it's not just toxins can cause cancer. Toxins can also cause fat. And vitamin B3 can help remove toxins. It's not going to remove all the toxins, but it helps. Like I said, it's one of the most, I'd say it's the top 4, vitamins. And also, if you even look back, you look back at the trend, I used to hang around, I used to know The anorexic women, I used to know them a lot because I was into getting super thin myself all the time and had real low body fat for a while, for a number of years. And but I went about it a very different way. I went about it in a natural way, with whole foods and everything, a lot of vitamins. But a lot of people that were into dieting, extreme dieting, they'll take like sugarless drinks that are made with sweeteners that are very toxic. And actually, a lot of times these things cause psychiatric disorders, believe it or not. And people are actually into severe calorie restriction. Should be very careful. And if they're going to do severe calorie restriction, they should make sure they have nutritional supplementation. In other words, it's not so bad to be calorie restricted quite a bit as long as you have the nutritional supplementation. Low calories actually can lead to longevity. Up to there's a limit. There's a limit to that, of course, but being on the lean side is actually very good for longevity. But being on the lean side and doing it through types of drinks that have, what do you call that? The non-sugar artificial flavors, the artificial sweeteners. Those things can actually be very toxic. So if you do those, you at least want to make sure you're taking some nicotinic acid to try to counterbalance some of that. And actually, everything is a balance. You could be too excitable. You could be too not excitable at all. It's like everything's a balance. And so it's the same way with nature. A lot of things are actually, you can't go too much one way or the other. And one of the problems we have today in our modern society is that we're not in harmony with what we've evolved from over thousands of years. Our DNA has been subjected to so much, artificially produced things, like even the benzene that's emitted from plastics. Even when you go inside a car that's been sitting in the hot sun and you see the benzene comes out of the plastic of the seats, all that toxicity is affecting your DNA. So this is one of the other reasons that, supplementation is actually very important today. But you want to remember that you want to do natural supplementation. The nicotinic acid is the way to go. It's not, you'll see every vitamin out there, pretty much, multivitamin out there has vitamin B3, but it's not in the form that's natural, because the form that's natural can give you the flush. Now, if you're taking a vitamin B3 and you get the flush, if you want to avoid the flush, take the vitamin when you're having a meal, or take it in smaller, divided up doses. That can make a big difference too. Because if you take one big dose and it's without a meal, you're going to get a severe flush, and you're not going to like that. So, but if there is a major difference though, if you're taking the dosage of nicotinic acid with a meal versus on an empty stomach. With a meal, you'll feel a lot less flush, and I don't mind the flush that much. It doesn't bother me. Some people complain about it, but that's actually detoxifying the body. And it actually helps also lower the cholesterol level. So you got to bring everything into harmony, everything into balance, and that's the only way to go. What I see that's going on today is we're living in so much of a corporate controlled environment where everything's all about money and controlling society, and major planners up there, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's like we need to just get back to our grassroots and do things in a natural way. And the natural, that's why I'm advocating here for nicotinic acid, which is the natural form of vitamin B3, which you will not find in. I have never seen any multivitamin or supplement that contain a natural form of vitamin B3. It seems you have to buy it separately. And the reason they don't put it in the multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement is because if somebody gets that reaction, they say, oh, I had a reaction to the vitamin, I'm not buying this anymore. Although it's a good reaction. So there's several things, and it's well documented. One of the things that really got me was about, how it helped the World War II former POWs that were in veterans hospital systems for so many years. And what really alleviated all their problems where they couldn't get out of bed, they couldn't hardly freaking put their shoes on and get dressed and walk about. And they had so many pains all throughout their body. It was like they were stiff as a board practically. And it was just difficult to do anything during the day. The higher doses of vitamin B3, nicotinic acid, totally relieved that as long as they were taking a higher, if they stopped the doses, it didn't relieve it. But that was an extreme example, but those are people that lived under extreme circumstances. But it tells me, this actually has effect even for everyday people. Now, I'm not going to recommend a certain dosage for what the heck to take, but just to tell you that whatever dosage you take of vitamin B3 right now, you're not more than likely you're not getting a real one. You're not getting a real McCoy. You're getting another form of it that is not the form that the studies show to have all the benefits. And if you want to look up Dr. Abram Hoffer, MD, PhD, he also worked with Dr. Linus Pauling, who was a two-time Nobel Peace Prize winner. I mean, it's well documented. This stuff is not, you know, fake news or whatever you want to call it. It's well documented. It's been documented since the 1940s even. But on the other side of it, there's no money in it. I mean, if it's like, some things are much more profitable to administer to people than just a simple vitamin. But I look at it. It's not just the psychiatric. It's also the detoxification, which can help with fat loss and help with, if you remove more toxins, you have less susceptibility to cancer. Let's put it that way. It's not like working directly against cancer, but the more toxins you remove, which nicotinic acid will help do, the less susceptibility you have to cancer, the less susceptibility you have to, fat accumulating, which is trying to trap the toxins. Then also by bringing up the NAD, that's the coenzyme that is built from nicotinic acid, mainly built from nicotinic acid that your body produces. A lack of NAD will cause schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. So a lot of times, in most cases, it was cured with just nicotinic acid. That's what Dr. Abram Hoffer found out. But, I also look at longevity. Also, Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is, lack of NAD many times. Toxins. Nicotinic acid can help a lot with, your memory retention, your mental alertness in older age. And also the other thing I saw where they're going to, this is something I saw, and I really don't think it's ever going to be released to the public. It's probably just going to be available only to the ultra wealthy or something, I think. But they're talking about NAD, the coenzyme injections that they're going to have in the 2020s. That'll give you 10 or 20 more years of life because it's it's associated with longevity. It's not the only thing. There's a lot of things out there. I mean, Gotu Cola, astragalus root, rhodiola root, I think it's called. There's a lot of things out there. So it's not the only thing that's associated with longevity, but it's another aspect that can help you. And also, nicotinic acid has also been known to help lower the cholesterol, it's heart healthy. Believe it or not, it's another one. It's heart healthy. People take more of. It's not. You got to make sure it's it's got to be the nicotinic acid, but there's been a lot of studies that show that it can help with, prevent heart attacks. Believe it or not, I mean, along with vitamin E. But I get these studies. I read this stuff in the books, and I read it from books that were printed by doctors, medical doctors. And if I see it referenced by several medical doctors, and then I go with it. And I'll present it on a video. But it seems like there's several vitamins that we really don't get enough of. Vitamin C, I would say, is number one. That would be number one. I don't know what number two would be exactly. Could it be vitamin E or vitamin D? But I know with vitamin D, if you take higher doses, you got to take it with K2. Niacin, the natural form of B3. But there's a lot of stuff out there. It's not like you just can't ignore everything else. Everything is interrelated. But in our American diet, the standard American diet, otherwise known as SAD, it seems like we're lacking in certain things, and we have the funds and we have the methods. You can just go on to eBay or Amazon or Google search and whatever and order the stuff and make sure you get your nicotinic acid, the natural form, or vitamin C in a natural form, or vitamin D3 with K2, or vitamin E with the mixed, everything all the top of ferals that are in it. If you get these, they're easy to get, but nobody's doing it. Most people aren't doing it. So, but it's like usually they don't do just one thing. They do a lot of different things, and that's one of my points. And you're not going to get this information from, even though I get it from medical professionals. It's not. It's like medical professionals that study this. Like a lot of the information I got from vitamin E was from the medical community or medical professionals in Canada, and it was heavily, heavily documented how heart healthy vitamin E is, which is another topic of something else I put out. And it's not, it's documented for like years and years and years. But there's no money in it. That's a problem. A simple vitamin, there's no money in a simple vitamin. But I look at it from this angle. There's a cost to training people. And I'm getting at a point here. Like, in other words, if you have some of the best engineers or whatever they are, geologists or experts in agriculture or whatever it is, and it takes them so many years to become an expert in their field. And then as they get older, maybe their 50s are still going pretty well. Maybe they can be going well into their 60s or 70s. But they're not going to be super sparking when they're in their 90s or 100s, if they're still alive. Could you imagine if these same bright people that are real producers could be just as full of spark, vim, and vigor and energy as when they were 25 years old, when they're 125 or 225 years old? Could you imagine what they could produce, what they could benefit mankind with? So this is one of my angles on this nutrition thing, because as you have to replace people that have a lifetime of knowledge and experience and know-how. You're not. It's like somebody starting all over from day one. It's like wiping the slate clean. You got to start and reach. If you have people that can live hundreds and hundreds of years and still be full of vim and vigor, and I'm not talking about drinking and partying and whatever the heck. I'm talking about being producers. Could you imagine how much more the human race would have? What our standard of living would be? Where we would be at today? Could you imagine if Nicola Tesla was still alive today? Do you imagine the world would be a utopia, wouldn't it? This is why I look at this stuff with human health. And I got a bit of a cold from my last leftover, whatever, outdoor excursions on my motorcycle here. That was something else. But if you look at the short term goals that these people have with the corporations, they're destroying all the mankind and all of the progressiveness of civilization by, forcing these pharmaceutical, hammers to fix a problem with a hammer, basically, which has side effects. We have actually better tools that are available to us, mainly through nature, that we can do this much more cheaply. We can lower the overall cost of healthcare dramatically. The overall cost of healthcare is actually due to what? It's going to somebody's pockets. If you look at a herbologist, what the heck does an herbologist make, which is versus a general practitioner, MD? Herbologist is probably doing better in some cases, right? But they're not making the money. So, I look at it from a pragmatic point, and I look at it from overall goal of, basically through health, we can have a utopia society. Because through health, like I talked about, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and also depression, through nutrition, we can alleviate a lot of these things: depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, which also goes a long way to alleviating crimes against other people. When people have a balanced emotional state, which can be brought about through nutrition, I don't agree with the site drugs, but through nutrition, we will achieve an almost crime-free society. Do you see how this all relates? It seems that, I don't know, it seems like the powers don't want this information out there. I don't know what the kind of powers we got that don't want this information out there, and I don't know what their goals really are, but, the truth is the truth, and that's just how it is, and I know what I'm doing. And, this doesn't work 100% of the time. Despite me trying to be as healthy as possible, I did catch a cold. That was probably because I was riding my motorcycle out in the cold weather and getting it deep down in my lungs and got irritated, and I was not getting enough sleep. You know, nothing works 100%. But, cost effectiveness, a lot of times these nutritional supplements are very, very, very beneficial. But don't ignore them. And like again, almost everybody doesn't buy the natural form of vitamin B3, which is the one whereby the studies showed the big benefits. The other the other forms of vitamin B3 that you find in the multivitamins, that's not the ones that are backed up by the studies. And that's where sometimes the confusion comes in play, because people say, "Oh, it didn't work." It didn't work because you weren't taking the right thing. Anyway, hopefully I presented some good information here for you. Over and out.